you'll come to me.
Welcome back to BibleCraft. I am here with Ben, and Nolan is somewhere blowing a goat horn. But welcome back to this week's episode of BibleCraft. We're hanging out, mining for netherite currently, to get some good armor going. But I hope all of your weeks are going well. If you're in the chat, say hello. I'm going to say hello in the chat. Hi, chat. Wow. Oh, that's statistics.
Oh. Why'd you make a Mario noise?
Dead streamer.
Dead streamer.
Dead streamer. Remember when I used to go into your chat every like 2-3 months and say
Yeah,
that?
without fail. And then I
Yep.
responded back with something snarky, and Dwight got mad at me.
Funny.
Because I forgot.
Dwight.
That was so funny. But anyways, tonight on BibleCraft, our ideas for what we're going to be discussing are a combination of what our favorite Bible character, or our favorite book of the Bible, favorite Bible characters, and I mean, part of this next question will be included in those, but like what Bible character do we see the most of ourselves in?
Forgot about the last part of that.
The coon, is that Alex? I think. I'm guessing that's supposed to be Alex. Hey, there's some gold over
Alex?
here.
Alex! It's Ben! I haven't talked to you in years. Well, it feels like years.
Ben just
Is
starts
this one of your
yelling.
old camp buddies?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good guy.
Alex is one of the better people from the camp, and one of the few who I think is still a Christian.
Hey, yo. I think most of that group is still Christian.
No, that group is mostly fine. Our group, not so much.
Yeah, our group kind of went off the deep end. But,
Alex is part of the good group, though.
yeah. He said, yeah, that's me. Welcome back. Long time no talk. He says, hi, Ben. I have a pretty significant chat delay, so that's why it's kind of a weird delay
Yeah.
between interacting.
No, I've noticed when trying to harass you during the Fortnite streams.
Yeah, that there's usually a pretty hefty delay. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, secret announcement, Ben will be here for this weekend, and so we will have live Fortnite commentary from Ben.
Oh
And
yeah, I forgot I was
perhaps,
doing
if
that.
I'm lucky enough, I'll get him to grab the controls for a round.
Unlikely, but
Possible.
that's a little
Very
less.
interesting to see that.
It'd be so funny.
Is-
It
is-
wouldn't go
is
well
Marty
at all.
bad?
But
Because Ben is such a hater for Fortnite.
yeah.
Yeah, but I do like games with guns, so
Yes.
you know.
Games with guns
But, like,
and Peter
his
Griffin.
level of being a hater to Fortnite is like, he's a pretty dedicated hater. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know a
am.
lot of haters who are that dedicated to hating.
Yeah.
It seems like a very stupid game.
Oh, hi, Mark. Mark's in the chat now as well.
Sorry, Mark, no offense.
We were just talking about how Ben's going to be doing live commentary for the Fortnite stream on Thursday. That's what night that is. Which will be exciting.
How do you keep disappearing into the mines, Jacob? I don't really
Because
mind
it's
too much.
hard to see name tags in the nether.
Yeah, fair. My pickaxe is about to break.
Also, because I kind of just keep wrapping back in and around myself.
Oh yeah.
'Cause it's kind of hard to find places that haven't already been exploded.
Yeah.
But yeah. If Mark or Alex, I edited some sound settings, so let me know if anything feels too loud on your end. I think I got it balanced decently well, but I, obviously am not actually able to. Oh, that's lava.
Streaming, am I echoing again?
I don't think so. Mark said,
Nope.
I can't wait to hear Ben talk about my Fortnite clips with like the hot and sweaty emoji.
Ha!
That would be awesome. Ooh, that could be a fun idea. Just literally like Fortnite clip reactions with Ben, who has
So wait,
no
why
idea
is
what's
the
going
purple
on.
guy trying to kill the blue guy?
Yeah, why
I
is
just
Peter
go full
Griffin?
grandpa mode on it.
Why is Peter Griffin playing guitar? You all sound pretty
Where did
awesome.
Optimus Prime come from, and why isn't he putting into
Griffin playing Weezer.
Why is Optimus Prime playing Weezer? That would be beautiful.
I'm familiar with the deep lore.
Apparently all the guys that I used to live with in college are like now all the way on the Fortnite train.
They are.
Like every single one of them apparently.
I was gonna say, I
they
saw
were
Nathan
already
get
too
on
hard.
the other night when we were on, but he didn't join our party because he was with someone else. So I don't know who he was
Yeah,
playing
he was
with.
with Matt and Micah.
Nice. I played with Matt a couple times because he would always just play on Nathan's account, and I'd always think I was partying Nathan, and then Matt would pop on the microphone and be like, "Oh, hi, Matt."
Huh.
But that was
I
pretty
love
fun.
Matt.
Matt.
Nice.
He's a good guy. But anyways, all right. First question.
Keep
What
talking
is
good about him, and he might watch the stream.
imagine?
Ha.
Doubt. No one watches my streams. Anyways,
Maybe some of my youth group kids might actually get on. I was
Yeah,
telling them
you
about your
should have
streams, and
that.
they think it's cool.
3 times though. We never have.
I was gonna say I've had one of my I was talking to one of my guys when I was at a soccer game last week, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll come to another game because the next game I'm going to it starts at like 9:30 p.m. But it's a weekend that Janessa's out of town." So I was like, "Yeah, Janessa will be out of town, so I mean, what else am I gonna be doing?" And he's like, "Maybe streaming BibleCraft." I was like, "Oh no."
No,
I know that. That's so funny.
It was such a funny comment.
My pastor made fun of me for being attached to BibleCraft today because he saw the thumbnail.
How did he see the thumbnail?
I showed him.
Nice.
I told him, he asked me what I was doing tonight, and I said I'm helping a buddy with his side ministry. And then he was like, oh, what is it? And then
That's
I
how
showed
you
him the
tried to
YouTube.
sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he's not wrong.
No offense, Jacob. Just saying. Just try to sell playing Minecraft to your senior pastor that way.
Oh
It's
yeah,
kinda funny.
no. But I was gonna say I don't know if Brian actually knows that I do this or not.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my youth kids do. Mark said he needs our opinion on street tacos.
Oh, I like street tacos.
Street tacos made by people who should actually be making street tacos.
So Mexicans who actually know what they're doing.
Not on stream, Ben.
I don't want
No,
a white
seriously.
Polak like myself making street tacos. There's
I'm
a
dead
really
serious,
good
Owen.
taco truck here where we live, and
And
it's
I
good.
bet it's actual people from Mexico. Is that better? Who know how to make the good tacos? They know how to do it better than we do.
It's like when I was in Yuma and I had some of the best street tacos of my life, but we were also literally like on the border, and they were
I was gonna say, like,
amazing.
I went up to Nolan's house this weekend, and we went to a Mexican restaurant. Best Mexican food I've had in a very long time.
Because you weren't
Very
in
authentic
Dubuque.
restaurant. And yeah, because I wasn't in Dubuque. Also, my opinion on street tacos is
El Paisanos is goated.
so my opinion on street tacos.
Mark said Ben is
because-
right.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. Street tacos, I can't give an opinion on because I can't eat tacos. I like most Mexican foods. One of the particular taco seasonings just
Really?
destroys my stomach. Yes.
That's interesting.
I can eat burritos just fine. I can eat spicy food just fine. It's something in the taco seasoning.
Yeah, some combination of something.
Yeah, one of the seasonings they use. I don't know which one, but it's been consistent all my life with tacos from everywhere. So
What about Taco
Also,
Bell?
I know better than to try Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's so good, dude. Like, I will actually die on the hill if Taco Bell's good.
I would probably die if I tried to eat a Taco Bell taco.
I love Taco Bell. But
I'm
I group
completely
Taco
lost
Bell
in
in
that.
with like Hawaiian pizza, where it's like if that's what I want it, and it's good. But I wouldn't actually group it as a taco or as pizza.
I disagree. I like Hawaiian pizza.
Oh, I like it,
Hawaiian
but when I
pizza-
want pizza, I don't want
let
Hawaiian
me
pizza.
swap- I disagree. Thin crust Hawaiian pizza with pepperoni instead of ham is so good.
That would be
Like,
good.
Especially specifically the one from Domino's is insane. My buddy Micah, who lives in Virginia, loves it. He lives and dies by it. I tried to mock him for it, and then I tried it. Literally had to send him a text apologizing. I was like, "This is so good."
Guys, can we stop talking about good food? I had poorly cooked noodles and summer sausage for dinner tonight.
Nice.
Can you not use the student kitchen, bro? Like, I'm sorry, but like, the food you ate just sounds so abysmal.
Well, it's because I made it with an electric kettle and a camping pot in my room. Because I didn't want to deal with having to fight all the other campus people who's still on campus in the student kitchen.
You could watch those two people date each other, make food, and
No
talk sweet
thanks.
nothings into each other's ear while they're doing it.
Sweet
I'm sure they
nothings.
broke up. Oh wait, no, wait. I think it's a different one that you might be talking about. Never mind. I don't
Update
know.
on the chat. Alex said, "Poor Ben, no tacos, sad face." And Mark said, "Me and Jordan will eat tacos in your name tonight, Ben."
Thank you, Mark. Thank
Are you guys going
I
to a
made
street
it-
taco place there in Washington?
I'm completely lost.
In the Nether
I made
mine?
enchiladas for dinner tonight, and the enchiladas I made were fire as heck. They were so good.
My dinner was a bag of pita chips because
Fine.
Janessa was
begging you to
working.
find God.
Janessa was working late,
Such a bad meal.
and she thought she was gonna be home, and then she wasn't, and she said, "Just eat something." and but I didn't really have enough time to fully make something, or let me rephrase that, enough time to make anything that I would want to eat right now.
Janessa, he needs you.
And
He can't feed
so-
himself.
Yeah, I'm literally like a little baby.
This man cannot feed himself without wife.
Have wife, life good. Kill
No.
wife. Sad. Mark said, yeah, they're gonna have street tacos unless they're sold out by the time they get there. That's right, because you're what, 2 hours behind us, so it's 5:45 there,
Oh,
I think. So yeah, that's like right around dinner time. That's not too bad at all. Oop, didn't mean to place that block. I think I'm almost out of beds, and then I'll come back to the nether, or not to the nether, to the overworld. Yeah, I got
well,
two.
I think, gonna have to start living in these mines, wandering the halls like a hermit.
Just head towards the mines towards 0-0, and that'll
Hang on, I need
eventually
to
get you
do-
back.
I've got 16 baked potatoes left. I'll survive. Also, I
'Cause-
need to remember my maze trick. You
What?
always make right-hand turns. Eventually, I should
Eventually you'll
flip
get
it
out.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
I mean, technically, because it means you won't ever.
Sure.
It means you won't ever make the same turn twice.
The only problem is if it loops back on itself.
Yeah, because you will eventually loop back on yourself, even if you're in a corn maze. Like
Yep.
you keep your hand on the right wall. So technically, it is right. It will help you get out. It just might take
It
a
helps.
really long time.
Yep.
But.
Because the whole thing is, technically, you will systematically cover all of the maze
Yeah.
eventually.
Eventually, it might take a while, but I hear.
Yep.
How do I hear ghast all the way under here? Oh, I forgot that I have this song on here. I'm gonna skip this one because of current events with some of those YouTubers.
Ah,
The Dream speedrun music just came on my Spotify playlist.
Why do you have a dream speedrun for your streaming playlist?
Because it's from back when I had this playlist made for doing Bed Wars.
Oh,
So I just had it on the playlist because I thought it was funny. But, anyways,
unfortunately, that makes sense.
yeah. Anyways, let's get into the topic, and we'll start with what is your favorite? All right, enjoy your tacos, Mark. But so, what is your favorite book of the Bible and why? We'll start there. Nolan.
You have to start with me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm a sucker for the Book of John, dude. It is so clear and concise on like what Jesus was and like who he was. Specifically Jesus as fully God. For those of you who may be unaware, each gospel kind of paints not a different picture of Jesus, but a different facet of
Yeah, it
Jesus'
focuses on a
character.
different part of him.
Yeah. So John specifically is written to focus on the divinity of Christ. And it is so good. You see a lot of Jesus's like specific proofs to why he is Christ in those books, in those chapters, sorry. And John is just a genius with how he writes. He cycles back around to very common themes of light and life, which are both super cool. And he walks through a lot of Jesus's like witness of himself and then other people's witness of Christ. And then he ends the whole book with the a part of the upper room discourse, Jesus's last message to his disciples. And he kind of like the way he writes the upper room discourse, it sort of walks you all the way back through the whole book of John and all the themes that he's hit on in the whole book.
really?
So it's like
I haven't noticed that facet of it before. Hey, I found the way out. The right turning right.
I noticed that like the last time I was reading that just a couple months ago. I actually preached out of John 2 Sundays ago, out of John
Nice.
15, which is my favorite verse in the Bible.
What verse is it?
John 15, 1 through 4 is my favorite passage in scripture. I should say not verse because it's 4 verses, but
I don't know it off the top of my head. What is it?
I'm the true vine, my father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so it might bear more fruit. You're already clean because of the words I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As no one can have, as a vine cannot live outside of the branch, neither can you unless you abide in me. I botched verse 4, but
That's all right. Nice. That is a good one.
yeah, anyway, John is great. I love that book a lot. Actually, both of my corporate sermons that I've preached out of have been,
They've
both
all-
of them
Really? I didn't
have
know
been out
that.
of John. John 7 and John 15. Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
Somebody else gets to go.
I was
now.
gonna say. So I was sorry. I was taking a drink of my apple juice. So your favorite book is John. Ben, what's your favorite book?
Well, I was gonna say John, but
I thought you were gonna
stole
say
it.
Romans.
I
Romans.
also thought you were gonna say Romans. Romans is a close second for me.
Romans is definitely up there. Honestly, that might be the second for me.
Nice.
It'd be either Romans or honestly First Kings.
Mm,
Sorry, First Samuel, not First Kings. First Samuel.
okay. Why is that?
All right, so Romans, because I mean it's the theology book. It's the Reformed theology book,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the kind of Paul's magnum opus among his magnum opuses.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, all of his writing is good and valuable, and all this and all that. Romans is kind of Paul's biggest and most expansive
Mhm.
treatment of the gospel and theology, and it's also really the clearest book that lays out salvation and how it all works and everything. It's just the theologian's like dream book. It is the one that you can really lose yourself in, and that you need the fewest outside sources to make sense of.
That's fair.
Romans is great. I love Romans, but First Samuel has kind of a special place for me because when I was a kid, well, middle schoolish actually, I knew I was supposed to be reading the Bible every day. I couldn't understand the New Testament like Romans at all, so I would go to the Old Testament and I would read the historical books because I couldn't understand the deep theology, but I could understand King David did good things and he killed a lot of people, etc. They were very enjoyable books to read. They were very real books to read because obviously David as a character is not perfect, but he's also very much like us.
Mhm.
So reading about kind of his rise and fall and Samuel's place and the example of Saul versus the example of David. So if I had to pick only one to have access to, it'd be Romans over First Samuel, but it's between those two for a favorite.
Nice.
Yep.
Solid. I was gonna say that those are honestly the two that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this question was John and Romans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I mean, I like John also because of the fact that it focuses not just on the divinity, but also on like, I just like how it fleshes out Jesus as a personal character as well. Whereas some of the other gospels are a little bit more, I don't want to say removed and unemotional, but because of John being one of the closest disciples to Christ himself, it helps flesh him out. Not that we need him to be a character in a book, obviously. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I think
But it helps
Yeah.
to see a little bit more of him, and it helps grasp him as a real person and not just a two-dimensional being. Like, it helps us understand some more of, like, the, you know, when he was tempted in the wilderness, he was legitimately tempted, you know, because we're able to understand him as a person better than... Oh, that horse just ran at me when I started eating a carrot.
John gives us a lot more unique material.
is
Yeah.
the temptation of Jesus in John? I thought the temptation of Jesus was in Luke.
It's in Luke and Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, because it helps in the whole context of all of them.
I was to say, having John helps interpret those passages. Though,
Yeah.
That's true.
somewhat.
Hello, horse. Sorry, my
Yeah,
horse
it's
just
like
got
Mark
me.
4 and
Luke
Luke.
is the gospel specifically written to portray Jesus in his total humanity.
Mhm.
But that said, the aspects of Christ that we see in John are like reinforced by ideas in Luke.
Yeah. Exactly. But
Also,
besides
Luke
John,
has that, like,
sorry,
Luke
go
has
for
the
it.
juicy connection with Acts too.
That's true. Which is
makes
a nice,
it really fun to read one after another.
yeah. It helps it feel like, not that any other book in the Bible isn't also connected to the rest of them, but
They
it's a
feel
more
much
of a
more
direct,
connected.
yeah, it's a direct sequel, not a spin-off.
Yep.
Good way to phrase it.
I currently have monkeys spinning monkeys in the background while we're talking about this. I just realized what song is playing. So-
Why?
It's just on a playlist that's I'm shuffling right now. I don't know what's going on in the playlist.
You know who that makes me think of though?
Schlatt.
No, Gabby. From
Oh,
Camp.
yep.
He would play that for hours on loop in the hitching post.
It's so funny. Because technically it was allowed because it was... That's
It was
funny.
instrumental.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah, but
Kids
since
are
those
actually
two
funny.
since those two were already taken, I mean the other one that I go back to a lot is just Ephesians.
Yeah, fair.
Because I feel like it's a very practical letter on how to not just like what it means to be a Christian, but how to live as a Christian. You know, and so it's the practical side of the theology, and not as much just the like. It's more how to live out the theology, and less of just the big terms. And so, again, part of that comes back to it's one that is a good one to preach out of, and that I can always return to with the youth and know that they're going to get stuff out of it. But also, it's just a very solid, hands-on. How do you walk as a Christian? So I like it.
Yeah, nice.
I get down with Ephesians too. I am doing Ephesians with my youth group in my next lesson cycle.
Nolan likes to boogie with Ephesians.
Down with the Ephesians. Ooh, Sorry.
It's better than great as Artemis of the Ephesians.
Yes.
Are you a pagan, Nolan? That sounded like
I said
paganism.
it's better than that.
You still said it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Problem. No, I'm not. That's a lie. I'm never done being a problem. But
We know.
I'll shut up for now.
Every group needs their problem child.
Yeah,
And you know what that means with Minecraft YouTubers.
Oh, no, stop. Actually, in your guys' family structures growing up, where did you guys fit? I'm curious.
As far as were we the problem child?
Yeah.
I was not
Definitely
the problem
not.
child.
Really?
Mm-mm. I was too scared to be the problem child. Let me rephrase that.
Actually,
I
were
got
you
away with it. I
perceived?
feel like I got away with a lot of stuff, but part of that was just because I didn't. I don't know how to phrase it, because neither
Yeah.
me nor my sister were like that big of problem children.
I was gonna say neither of you really,
I think
would seem to be problem children.
I was just sneakier and less likely to talk back.
Hey, Jacob, the deceiver.
Yep, that's me.
Sneaky.
Actually, I was gonna say I was the opposite. I was sneaky, but I was bad at being sneaky, so I was the problem child.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like I was always the one who when I was in elementary school, I was consistently the one who would get bad reports from teachers.
That didn't change going into college.
My parents didn't go to parent-teacher conferences in college, which is partly why they never got bad reports. But they may have, actually. I loved college, and I was not actually a hassle to my professors. I loved my professors very dearly during college.
Yeah.
Which is why they didn't strangle you.
Even though they might have wanted to.
Also, Nolan was always. This sounds bad, but let me finish the statement. You know how Patrick in SpongeBob will seem like he's just completely out of it, but then out of nowhere he'll pop in with something super intelligent, and then he'll go back to kind of just seeming out of it.
Yeah.
Nolan does that sometimes, where it's like, is he awake? Pops in with something super relevant, deep, and thoughtful,
And then goes back to browsing Legos.
Yes.
But also,
At
I know
least
that
in the
Nolan.
classes we were in together.
Yeah, and Nolan, you just focus better while doing something else as well. You're like the classic, like, you need something else to do so you can actually be paying attention well, and not just zoning out. So I think
Also
that's
known
part
as
of.
ADHD.
I think I never got a formal diagnosis, but I think it very likely that I have ADHD.
No.
Take
that
this
sounds
as your
worse than
diagnosis. You would get along really well with most of my youth group boys.
I get along with my own youth group boys too. My youth group guys are dogs. I love them. I love them so much.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
I honestly worry about whether I'm going to get along with youth kids or not.
I feel like for
the gap
you,
is white a lot.
yeah, it kind of
Then I
just
feel like
depends
you'd
on
be
where
very
you
pastoral
go.
with them.
Yeah,
I feel like I kind of can fill in a goofy older brother role, and Jacob can fill in a lot of a dad role. But I feel like you'll be very pastoral with them.
Yeah,
Grandpa.
yeah, the grandpa role. Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to phrase our three styles of pastoring.
I think that's fair.
I think you'll be good. I think the big thing that you'll need is just a good team of volunteers who can fill in some of that more.
The hyperactive energy that I
Yeah.
just don't have in me, yes.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm even struggling with because I know, I'm more naturally like I'm not the high energy doing backflips youth pastor. And all of our
Well,
volunteers generally like, we
all
don't have
three
any
of us-
volunteers who are super energetic. Like
All
that's
three
just
of us are too fat to be doing backflips, but that's
Yeah.
beside the point.
that's improv. I was gonna go for another run this morning, but my knee was hurting all day yesterday, and I woke up and it was still sore this morning.
Llama.
That's same knee from soccer.
Oh, of course. You're probably going to deal with that one all your life.
Yeah, I can hear someone dying in the background.
It's fine. 'Tis merely a flesh wound.
I'm waiting to see it in chat.
You won't. I refuse.
Mm.
Oh, frick. The lava doesn't care if I refuse or not. It almost got me again.
Really nice, extremely deep mine.
Nice.
I can literally triple. I found another stack of diamonds down here,
Ooh,
and I can probably swap them for a full stack of emeralds because I have the
Nice.
1-to-1 diamond to emerald trade unlocked.
Oh, that's right. I need to do
Where
some
do you do
serious
that?
diamond mining.
Some serious what mining?
Diamond mining.
Diamond? Oh yeah. I just end up honestly like I'm kind of throwing out my diamonds right now, but
You're what?
I'm kind of throwing out diamonds by converting them all to emeralds.
Oh.
I mean,
where
it'll
are
be-
you? I will
it'll-
pick them up.
That'll be useful in the future, though, to have that big stack once you get good villager trades, especially for like books. and
We really
such.
need to
Well,
start.
I have enough mending books for all my tools now, so it's not like I need those anymore.
Must be nice.
Yeah, Nolan, I may ask you at some point to guide me back to the mending villager once I'm able to actually get enough experience again. I'm back up to 23 levels. We'll get there.
What is our home area chords?
It's
You
200.
know, we were talking about this earlier. None of us know.
200 something, 700 something.
Okay, I'll figure
I
it
guess
out.
Ben knows.
Yeah, remember how I was lost all of it last night? I remember
That's
some
right.
of it.
You were lost the whole time. That was pretty funny.
Oh, that's right.
It's
I
ironic
forgot that
because
Ben
I was
wasn't on
never-
Fortnite with us last night.
No. Ben was just roaming the forests trying to find his way home.
Pretty much.
I went out to try to find some feathers to make more arrows and got absolutely lost.
How'd you get lost trying to gather feathers?
Because I kept trying to... Because it's hard to find chickens.
Okay, I need
Oh,
to make
never
you
mind, I
guys
see the
each
tower.
copies- I need to make you both copies of our home area map.
I see Nolan's tower in the distance. I'll get home.
It's actually usually the first thing I see on the way back to the base.
Usually I see your ship in the sky.
Oh, really?
I will say, the giant towers like that, I make them because they're easy for navigation.
Yeah,
They
it
do
makes it a
help.
lot easier to find home base. Yeah. So, we answered our favorite book of the Bible. Next, what would you consider, and it doesn't have to be like, this is your favorite and no one else counts, but like, what would your like favorite Bible character be? And I go, no, character is the wrong term to use because they were real people. However, what was your favorite Bible
Mama!
personality? Might be a better
Not
term.
necessarily wrong. I mean, yes, they were real, but I mean, you can have real people who are still characters in a book.
Yeah, that's true. I'm really struggling to get over this hill here because I'm too busy thinking.
Don't you
I
hate
I would
that?
describe this like major players before in the Bible.
Yeah,
So the Bible has so many characters, but there are some who are like just major players, whereas other people might be kind of.
yeah, similar to what we talked
and by
about
player-
last week when we were
By
talking about
player,
the
I mean,
major.
like, character in the story, not like Solomon.
Yeah, got him. But like last week we were talking about, what are some of the major story beats? So this will be like kind of like,
Yep.
and part of that
Similar
was
thing, where it's not to say that some of it is not important, but to say that there is a priority order.
yeah.
Some of them we're going to have a preference for.
Since Nolan started that time, Ben, you start this time.
Honestly, King David's up there really high for me.
Why
Go ahead.
is that?
I like him. For one, he's relatable in a lot of ways. I don't relate to everything about him. I'm not as artistic as he was, but I appreciate his passion about everything and how quickly he got upset about things, but knew how to channel that properly and
Yeah.
actually do good things with that instead of harmful things.
Yeah.
And yes, he had his one big sin, but I mean, I'm a guy, I get it. And it's kind of reassuring sometimes to see that major biblical characters had some similar pitfalls to what we do.
Yeah. I agree
So-
with that.
I like David a lot.
Can I make a maybe
Yeah.
kind of a contending point with the one big sin thing?
Yes.
I would actually argue that David's sin with Bathsheba wasn't as much one big sin as it was a culmination of a pattern of sin that was kind of a downfall with him.
That's fair. He
Because,
definitely
like-
had an issue with wives throughout the whole story.
And the author of Samuel like goes out of his way to like make notes of it.
He does.
Like it
There's
is always
that-
mentioned so specifically, like, and he took her to be his wife. And
There's
it's
that-
always like, a lot of times it's somebody he has no business being in any kind of like marriage with. But
So it's that beautiful literary thing where they're slowly building it up, and the author doesn't really point it out directly because he doesn't have to. If you're paying attention, you know, wait a minute, the king's not supposed to multiply wives for himself. This seems not
seems
like
wrong.
what's supposed to happen. And then it culminates in that, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Again, the Bible as literature is something I'm coming to appreciate a lot recently. You're
it's great. Yeah.
There's a lot of artistic value behind the composition of this,
Yeah.
if you're willing to look for it.
I'd agree with that.
So yeah, David's up there for me for sure.
All right.
Sorry,
Nolan.
I didn't mean to like contend with your favorite character, but
No, you didn't. And I wouldn't have paid attention if you had.
Got him.
you're up next, Jacob.
Oh. I feel like I don't know. It's always a good question because, you know, you have the characters like Paul who are just such staples in Christian storytelling.
Yeah.
That it's like, you know, how can't you pick someone like that? But, you know, the two that I always kind of go back to that I find is just, I don't know if I should say, you know, favorite characters, but I guess interesting characters for me would probably be more along the lines of like Job and Jonah. Because I always enjoy the story of Job because it's so interesting to see, you know, it's reassuring to see that like he was able to not only stay strong through difficulty, but that God wasn't mad at him for being
Having
upset
questions.
and being like, why are you doing this to me? This isn't fair. Like, what is, you know? And so it's just a very interesting look at what does it look like to be in a position where you aren't happy with what God's doing, and how do you stand through that situation? And then Jonah, I find interesting, and part of this is just it's really fresh on my mind because it's what I'm writing a series on right now for my youth group. But just it's a very interesting comparison of, you know, between him and Jesus, where Jonah was told, hey, go do this thing, and instead of going to Nineveh as he was told by God, instead of going, I did the math, I think it was you know, a 200-mile trip from where Jonah was from to Nineveh, and instead of that he tried to go 1,200 miles across the Mediterranean Sea to modern day Spain. And just that contrast between when Jesus was told to do something, even if he didn't want to do it, he followed through because he knew it was in our best interest to, you know, die on the cross and suffer for us. Whereas Jonah, like, it wasn't even that big of a thing, but he just didn't want to do it. He didn't want to follow through with God's command. And so it's an interesting image of, instead of, like, it wasn't even just that he didn't listen to God. He ran and tried to go the complete opposite direction. And so he was overcompensating in an effort to avoid the mission that God gave him. And then even when he finally came around after being swallowed by the fish and spit back out at Joppa, and he was given, like, literally, like, if you look at the text, it's almost like it's very clearly like it's almost like it's a forgiveness / salvation mirroring, where he's spit back out at Joppa. God forgave him when he prayed, and he was given a full second chance to start back from the beginning and go again. And then even when he got to Nineveh, the message I just wrote today was Jonah 2 and 3. And even when he gets to Nineveh, then the message that he's giving is literally just, hey, you got 40 days and then God's going to kill you. Thanks, bye. Like, he's giving it as a promise, whereas God meant it as a warning. And so then,
and also they like
Interesting.
It's like a 3-day trip across Nineveh. He doesn't even get a third of the way into the city before the people are all coming to their knees for like repentance.
yeah.
Like, it is crazy the contrast between Jonah and the people of Nineveh.
Yeah, and so when Jonah, who was on the boat and was obviously running from God, and was told by the captain, hey, you need to go pray to whatever God you worship because we're trying to figure out what's going on. Jonah never prayed and he never repented. He accepted and admitted that it was his fault. And he accepted the punishment of getting thrown overboard, but he still never prayed to God until he was in the belly of the whale. And he never actually admitted, or he never repented for what he did. If you look at the text, it never says that he repented. He just prayed to God and said, thank you for saving me. If you, save me, whatever. And so
It's
then,
so clear that the Ninevites did.
yeah, so he didn't receive the message, and then he almost was trying to prevent the Ninevites from receiving the message, but they did, and they turned so drastically to the point where in Jonah 4, Jonah's mad at God for forgiving them and accepting them. And it's just such an interesting comparison of, here's this guy who was given, not a simple goal, but God just said, hey, go to Nineveh, tell them that they have 40 days to turn and follow me or else they'll be destroyed. And instead of listening, he tried to run away. And then when God finally got his attention, he did it begrudgingly, and then was mad when God forgave them. And so it's just such an interesting, again, not like a favorite character or someone that I look up to, obviously, but just such an interesting story. And just psychologically, how did that, the question I asked the youth kids last week was when they were on the ship and the lots fell to Jonah. They were casting lots to figure out whose fault is it. And I asked the kids, why do you think that Jonah didn't just fess up? He waited for the lots to fall on him. The whole time he was trying to avoid responsibility and avoid the blame and not admit that it was his fault until God literally continued to keep forcing him into doing what he wanted him to do.
He thought he could get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so then when you compare and contrast that with Jesus going to the cross and saying a prayer, God, if there's another way, present it to me, but if not, I'll do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And still following through with something that was vastly more difficult than what Jonah went through. And obviously you can't quite compare the two because Jesus was, fully God, but he was also fully man. So he still knew and understood the pain that he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I spent way too much time reading the book of Jonah over the last 3 weeks.
That's dude.
So
I don't think you. Yep. Nope. You're good.
I just did. Have you ever done a Pathways training, Jacob?
No.
So I don't know if they have Pathways is an EFCA thing. But basically it's like training pastors how to read the Bible.
Yeah. Is that conference you went to a few months ago?
A couple of months ago, I went to one called the Simeon Trust.
Okay.
That's a different thing. Pathways is similar but different.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, so our church's ex-pastor is a big Pathways guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he came to our church and did a special one-off Pathways training thing. Some of my dad's pastor buddies are involved in it too, but it's a missionary thing too. So Pathways is all over the world. So
that's where I remember it from. One of the pastors who I interviewed with, who Nolan knows. I'm not going to name drop. But he's very into it. So he talked to me a lot about it when I was interviewing with him.
Huh.
That's where I knew I recognized it, but I cannot find a cave for the life of me. Oh, never mind. I just complained and I will find.
Trust. No, that pastor was at Simeon Trust too. His youth pastor is the former youth pastor of my church, so the guy whose position I usurped.
Yeah, he took the guy who Nolan replaced took a position that I turned down, which is just kind of a funny little twist. But
well, it's Iowa.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys ran into a couple funny twists like that during the whole job search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of that was just because we were trying to stay out of each other's way.
Not to mention the other church that Jacob applied at, but didn't necessarily end up at, was my dad's church.
Yeah. And I feel like I ended at, obviously, we can talk about this another time, but I feel like
my dad still thinks really highly of you.
Okay, that's good. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, because your parents are up. I texted them. I was like, look, if you guys want to grab dinner, let me know. I'm not going to force you to because obviously
you did? I didn't realize you actually texted them.
Because I was like, yeah, if you're here, I understand that you're here for vacation, but let me know if you guys want to grab dinner on your way back through town or something. I got it. I don't remember what he said, but because again, they're on their trip. I don't want to usurp any of that. But because you sent me the picture your dad sent me right at the same time that your dad texted me that they drove by our church. And at first, I saw your dad's text, I saw your dad's text first, and I was confused. I was like, was this a wrong number? Why is
an elaborate prank?
I was just like, why is Nolan's dad in northern Wisconsin?
Well, my dad also lives in northern Wisconsin. Used to live in northern Wisconsin. Yeah. My grandparents live up there.
Yeah. But so it was just kind of a funny. So I don't know. I might grab dinner with them on their way back south, but who knows?
That's what's up. That'd be so funny.
It would be.
Because Lyndon and Laurel will be with them, and
yeah.
Lyndon is so funny, dude.
Yeah. Is he still mad at me for quote unquote stealing his kills in Fortnite?
Honestly, I've come to learn that that boy just rages at everybody in Fortnite, no matter what.
Nice.
He's a rage gamer, and he's so funny.
That's
He
awesome.
and he and my dad were like all depressed yesterday because of the new Packers lineup changes.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that in the office. Not that I know anything about it, but
Pretty easy to pretend with sports conversations, though. You just
Yeah.
wait till everyone else looks mad, and you just
I
also
can't
throw your
stand it.
brow.
yeah.
That's being friends with Joe.
Yeah.
I love
Oh.
Joe, but he talks about sports all the time that I just don't understand. So I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But I do
Sometimes
enjoy
I-
just.
sometimes-
Sorry, go for it.
I think that's. I think Joe finds it endearing when people don't understand sports. Like I'm decently sure that the way he and Becca got to be dating was he just talked about sports and Becca was like, he's cute. I will ask him what that means and see how he can explain it.
Yeah. I was gonna say I just like hearing people talk about stuff they're interested in. So even if I have no idea what they're talking about, I still enjoy the conversations.
Say, if someone's passionate about something, usually there's some interest behind what they're talking about.
Yeah,
It makes it more interesting to listen to.
exactly. I just found a
Usually.
big slime, so I'm killing it to get all the slime balls.
So in theory,
I found a slime chunk too. Is that where are you mining, Jacob?
700, 200. So basically the opposite of our home chords.
Oh, you're actually kind of. Oh no, you're decently close to me.
What are your
what are
chords?
you doing?
We're both mining. in-
500 600 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're about 200 blocks apart. There are a lot of mobs down here, though.
Yeah, there's a giant cavern that I just came out of, and I think that this whole village is like over a big network. Because did you start from that village?
I started from Taiga biome, I think. So it was probably close to it, coincidentally. But, okay, so I answered, Ben answered, now it's Nolan's turn to answer.
Ooh, favorite Bible character?
Yeah,
All right, give me a second. I'm smelting up some gold
nice.
so I can trade with villagers again. My favorite Bible character, I don't know if there's a good comparison, so I'm just gonna go with a Bible character that's like on my mind right now.
Yeah,
And on my mind right now, as like I was thinking about this today, and I think there's always a little bit of recency bias, and I think here specifically there's a little bit of recency bias.
yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar.
He is an interesting one.
Nebuchadnezzar's like story of like going from like hating God, conquering his people, to repenting and completely like legitimate, not Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
Repenting and completely legitimately like I think that Daniel very clearly points to a clear repentance and like acknowledging by Nebuchadnezzar that God is the God of all gods and the King of all kings.
Yeah,
Which is a consistent theme of the book of Daniel, where Nebuchadnezzar features very prominently for the first couple chapters. And dude, he is such a standout. Like it's such a remarkable story, and I'm a sucker for like a huge testimony thing.
yeah.
And like, I firmly believe Nebuchadnezzar came to a saving knowledge of God, came to a rightful reverence and respect for God. And I think it'll be very interesting to hear more of that story someday.
Yeah.
Like,
I would tend to agree with you on the Nebuchadnezzar thing. I know that's a debated point, but
No, I
he sure
agree. I
seems
think
to be
he.
exhibiting the marks of true conversion.
you see
Yeah.
such a clear progression too.
You do.
Because he starts out like Daniel like interprets his dream correctly, and Nebuchadnezzar's like, this guy's good. And like it starts out that way. Daniel's given a position of power in Babylon that yes, he kind of already had because he was Jewish royalty and they were not royalty, but at least of the Jewish nobility. And so Daniel's given a lot of credit in there, but also like he single-handedly saved a lot of people from Nebuchadnezzar's like insane rage. And honestly insane pride. Like Nebuchadnezzar's pride is like to the point where he was building giant statues of himself, and he was
Yeah.
even still doing that after acknowledging that Daniel's God is like a pretty powerful dude, and probably exists because he believed in, of course, the Babylonian pantheon of those gods.
Yeah.
And Nebuchadnezzar has always been like a devout character. Like that's a character trait that is very commonly attributed to Nebuchadnezzar is that he's devout.
Mhm.
Also, historical records indicate he was very short, which I think is funny.
Short king, literally.
Like literally. I think that's really funny. But also like a lot of that comes through in like how he presents himself and how he's so quick to anger and stuff like that. Enter Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who demonstrate like this remarkable level of faith. Nebuchadnezzar throws them into a fire. Is shown a vision of a figure who is debated whether or not to either be an angel or some people assume it's a pre-incarnate Christ.
Yeah, which is an interesting thought. I don't know where I fall with that one yet, but
neither do I.
One of those areas that I actually tend to disagree with the majority of Emmaus professors. A lot of them will see a theodicy behind any appearance of an angelic being in the Old Testament who's not.
Whenever it's described as the angel of the Lord, Emmaus professors throw a fit.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, there's some degree of legitimacy to that. I mean, I understand that viewpoint. I don't necessarily hold to it. I think it's just an angelic appearance. But
sorry, I keep hijacking you guys' comments.
no, you're good.
no, I hijacked one of Bowder's comments earlier.
So that's part of it, is that we're just discussing.
Yep.
Ooh, I just unlocked the Master Villager trade, so now I can get bottles of enchanting.
Nice.
Meanwhile, I'm still wandering the Nether.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to find a better cave. It got very deep, but then it just ended before it even hit like deep stone or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I see. Dirt.
And then so after the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego thing, Nebuchadnezzar like exalts the god of the Israelites as equal to all the Babylonian gods. Equal to, which is also an improper way of viewing God, because God is the god of all gods and the king of all kings. But either way, there's a corner turned. Nebuchadnezzar's starting to come around. And then nothing happens for a little bit, and then a couple years later, Nebuchadnezzar's kind of in his older years, and it's actually very well historically documented that his son Avel-Marduk took office while Nebuchadnezzar was away for a little while. But the Bible fills in that historical gap with Nebuchadnezzar actually like being driven insane and living in the fields like a cow for a couple years. Like refusing all human contact. Some people call lycanthropy, or like the werewolf thingy.
You actually
which
right.
Either way, he's insane. He's living in the woods. At the end of the 7 years, like also he's directly spoken to by God in that point, where like God, after Daniel interprets the dream, Nebuchadnezzar's like, oh, interesting, okay, and then forgets about it. Like a year later, he's like, dude, I'm Nebuchadnezzar, I'm the freaking man. He's like exalting himself on top of the rooftops. The voice of God appears, drives him from mankind, and he loses his mind for 7 years. And at the end of that time, when his sanity is restored, it says he lifts his eyes to heaven. He is like exalts and praises God like that, saying that there's no other like him, that he's like clearly the king of all kings and the God of all gods. And that is the last we hear of Nebuchadnezzar. For his, I don't know if Belshazzar is this like a second son or like a nephew or something like that.
There was a gap between the two of them, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap, and then not much of a gap because Daniel's still alive. But Nebuchadnezzar's successor, Belshazzar, basically loses the kingdom. And Babylon, the kingdom, is always like seen as like this evil symbol. But Nebuchadnezzar doesn't get mentioned again after that book. So
yeah,
clearly Nebuchadnezzar is a figure that was very important, and then the last we see of him is this like redemptive moment, and then he kind of disappears from the story, probably because he's already pretty advanced in years when he's humbled by God like he is.
Something the Bible does a lot, though, is that it's not so much concerned as we would be about giving us the full story of a person's life. It's concerned about its storyline. So once a character's done playing their part in the Bible storyline, they'll take kind of a bow and leave the stage.
Yep, that's fair. But yeah, that I have a lot of admiration for that story beat. That complete loss of free will that results in like a rightful reverence of God as the God of all gods is like ridiculous. Like that just does not ever happen in history. And especially with the importance that it pays to the story of Israel too, because like it shows how powerful our God is. Our God will not take being conquered. He will not be conquered. And even in captivity, the impact on the nations is still that like Nebuchadnezzar, the king who conquered Israel, comes to rightfully like regard him as God, which no other king would have done.
I was gonna say, we see the whole Daniel is functioning as Israel was supposed to in the world, and being a light to draw others to God instead of a bad representation of him.
And all of Israel's kind of like being winnowed down over the centuries too.
Yeah.
Like the people coming out of Egypt are essentially all wiped out, and only their kids enter the land. Eventually, like the people keep getting diluted. Eventually 10 tribes go apostate. Of those tribes, only a couple remain. Then those tribes are taken into captivity. A lot of them just go apostate. But the faithful few that remain are always the ones who are holding up the end of the covenant.
Yeah.
Eventually leading to Christ, which is so cool.
That's cool. Part of me, so this is kind of going back to that Nebuchadnezzar, kind of like the going back and forth with like, oh, God's pretty cool, and then, oh no, I'm the coolest. I wonder if there's like a comparison we could make there with like the stereotypical like mountaintop experience of going to camp or going on a retreat, or of like the, you know, you experience God in such a powerful way, like, you know, guys in a furnace living, and then when you're back in reality, when you're back in your kingdom, you go back to, oh, that was just weird, like, you know, I'm still number one, I'm still the coolest.
Yeah.
I'd have to think it through a little bit more to flesh it out, but it's an interesting thought that I had while you were talking about it.
That is. I haven't heard that, or I haven't thought of it in that facet before.
I don't know if it's accurate, but
We all come from a camp background, so mountaintop experiences are something that is familiar for us to see.
yeah.
It's cool to talk to you guys and see such different facets than I would have drawn come out of it.
I was gonna say, I love that about ministry and different pastors' preaching styles, is how different people can take the same, like literally the exact same text, and pull, not contrasting, but different, like different main points out of the text, all still accurately.
Yep.
Like Brian and I, you know, for example, a few weeks ago, we both talked about literally the exact same text. And it was the love chapter from, oh, I thought I just died there. Yeah. And like, obviously we were both still like in the same vein, but we were able to bring different emphases out of it based on the, like he was preaching to Sunday morning, I was preaching on Wednesday night to the youth, you know, like.
And the biblical authors, you guys can do that and still be respectful, because they meant more than a incredibly simple meaning out of the text.
Yeah, it's not just
there is a lot to be drawn out of it.
Yeah, which is such a cool thing about the Bible and how it's written. And, you know, Holy Spirit reveals different things to different people through the same text. Not that they're differing or contrasting, but they're all accurate. They're just all different parts of the same thing. Alex just said in chat, I think your camp theory is pretty accurate. I counseled a couple years. That seemed to be the story of a lot of kids I'd see every year. Yeah, and I mean, that's something that Ben and I actually have talked about a lot, specifically about, I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of people who we've seen come and go through that camp. I mean, I don't care if I say it, Sky Lodge. Because
the camp itself is fine. That's a problem that all camps struggle with and are aware of.
Yeah, and that's just a fact of when you're in that community, you're surrounded by it. And because of that, you know, like, you know, you're always going to feel closer to God when it's the only thing you can talk about and think about. You're so withdrawn from the daily slog of school and friends and drama and family and everything else that when that's the only thing you're focusing on, it's automatically going to feel closer and more real to you. And then when you get back home where not everyone's a believer, or, you know, you have, you know, homework, or, you know, there's all these other things pulling for your attention that just automatically detract your mind from thinking about God.
There's also the facet that camp is a very safe place to talk about God.
Yeah.
And for some kids,
yeah,
not a safe place. But there's also a less healthy aspect of it, where camp, there can be almost a pressure to be talking about God all the time, and that can lead to some
improper...
Yeah. So that's something that I think is an inherent struggle that camps are going to have, is how to keep things genuine when the cool thing is to be the Christian kid at the camp.
Yeah. Because the only environment, really, where being the nerdy Christian is cool, besides Bible college.
The camp, but
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a different topic.
Well, even at my camp, being the nerdy Christian was never cool.
Yeah. But, like, it was normal to talk about the Bible regularly.
Yes.
It wasn't
There's a social
like
pressure to believe and think about spiritual things that there's not most places. And also, a lot of kids are just very susceptible to any social pressure. So if it's positive at camp, that's a great thing, but it's the same thing that turns against them once they leave camp.
yeah.
And social pressure doesn't get you saved.
Mhm.
So if that's all there is to a quote-unquote conversion, then that's not going to last.
Yeah.
Which is always sad, because a lot of those kids need Jesus. I mean, you can tell when you talk to them, and you do your best, but you can only do so much.
Yeah. And I think that's where the camp movement of our generation really failed, was the follow-through.
Yeah.
And like, growing up, I was always of the mind and that you went to camp and like you went with some friends or you had your friends at camp, but it wasn't like going somewhere as a youth group. That was for retreats or
Yep.
Stuff like that. And that's
Camp
why
was
I'm
separate
going to
from youth group, sure.
yeah, it was a different group, which was great in a lot of ways because it allowed you to be vulnerable and with different people than you normally see and have different circles and be like, oh, there's more Christians than just my church. But so that's why I'm doing camp as a whole group this year, so we can grow together and then have that built-in follow-through of after camp's over, we were all there together. And we're
Yep.
all able to, support each other and, grow as a group, both spiritually and just personally. You spend a lot
Yep.
of time and you do a lot of cool things. And so it's a great way to get to know your own abilities better.
It's a
through
bonding
being there.
experience
Yeah.
with anyone, but if you can do it with your youth group, then it's a bonding experience with people you actually will see again.
Yeah, that you'll see on hopefully the weekly basis.
Yeah.
So that way you'll all be able to continue to grow and continue to, not leave the mountain high because you'll still be seeing each other every week.
Yeah.
I'm toying with theme for this year for my youth group.
Yeah.
One of the themes that I've been toying with is this idea of more than a mountaintop.
That's kind of cool.
It's good because we both hummed.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the sign of acceptance among
Us.
Yeah.
Just a meh.
When you hear a villager, they agree.
Yes.
But no, that'd be a good series because it does emphasize like that. It's not just here. It's when you go home and you're in your environment and no, that's a good theory or theme. Our camp theme, I don't know if it's gonna be our year theme or not, but it just keeps coming up that kids are just struggling with their identity and where they place that. And that's not even just like like the LGBTQ, sexual gender and identity, but just like purely like where's your value? What do you find most important? Because if Christ is your identity and Christ is the center of your everything, then the other things just naturally will fall into place.
Yep.
If you're truly following Christ and truly trying to do what he wants from your life, everything else will fall in line. And so we just have a lot of kids in our group who are struggling with placing their identity in either relationships or sports or school or, their family or just anything. And so I told Jeremy, who's coming to speak, like the general theme that I'm looking for is identity. And here's what we're looking at, and I'll let you run with it. So I don't even really know exactly what's going to be fully covered. I'll talk to him about it in a few weeks once he's gone over it a little bit more. But just following that idea of, what's important in life and what follows after that.
Because the whole alphabet community thing that we're facing now has definitely
You're gonna
brought
get us demonetized, Ben.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's okay, we
Sorry,
weren't
Jacob.
monetized in the first place.
Is the identity issue's been brought to the forefront in ways that it hasn't been before, but it's always been an issue.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, sports and school are, in certain ways, I want to be careful with phrasing this, in certain ways they can be just as harmful to a person's spiritual health as placing their value in their sexual preferences.
Yeah, because
So-
it's literally
wholeheartedly agree.
anything you place above Christ is harmful.
Yes.
And so,
Indeed.
a lot of it comes from whether that's your sexual practice. Like if I placed, I'm straight. If I placed that above following Jesus,
Yeah.
it'd be sinful. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything that's above Jesus is wrong.
Yep.
And when you're following him, everything else will generally find its proper place in the situation. But yeehaw.
Aw and ye.
That was a good bunny trail.
Yes.
Let's see. I got 19 diamonds.
Alright. hit
I
the
got
Not Nolan's 3 stacks, but
124 dimes.
oh my gosh,
Jeez,
Nolan. That's why I
Nolan.
can't find any.
You stay away
Hang
from
on,
my
how close,
hitting.
what are your chords, Jacob?
I'm 1150, 200.
Okay, yeah, you won't be here. Can you hear this?
No, I can't. For context, Nolan has a goat horn that he keeps randomly blowing.
It's honestly amazing.
It
I
is.
kind of want one now.
I have gotten villager trades in this village to the point where the villagers are starting to jack up their prices on me.
That's funny.
It's probably because your hero of the village wore off.
No, that's like, it shows that the low prices are slashed and replaced with higher ones.
Oh,
That's a thing now. If you abuse villager trades, then they jack up their prices.
that's probably good.
Villagers are
actually
only-
think-
It was a
harder.
mechanic that was way too... I mean, I never figured it out, but I know from what I've seen, it was way too easy to abuse. And just get super
Yeah,
overpowered.
I have been abusing it.
Classic. Never mind. Can't say that.
Nope. Good save. Good save.
Yeah, it's for that reason. Like in one of my survival worlds that I built a while ago, I had to stop doing my. I had like 3 cartographers, and I would just have like an endless glass farm that was like endlessly generating.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's awesome for you, but like realistically,
There's only so
it's
much
a
glass.
game-breaking mechanic.
Oh, 100% game breaking. Yeah.
But anytime they add something new, it's gonna break something. So I'm up to 36.
I think
all of a
Minecraft is bad with balance changes.
Oh, very much
Yeah.
so.
And part of that is they won't know how the community is gonna abuse something until it's in the game.
Yeah.
And
Minecraft,
Minecraft has
also
a very
attracts-
strange fan base.
I would say
Yeah.
Minecraft attracts the kind of players who figure out how to abuse things. It always has.
Yeah.
And it also matters a little less in Minecraft if things are balanced because the primary goal of Minecraft is not PvP
Yeah.
or competitive. That's become a larger secondary goal than I think anyone would have expected back when it was first a
Yeah,
thing.
like the speedrunning community and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, speedrunning's become a thing.
I don't
Again,
get it.
online PvP has become a thing, but that's not what the game's designed around.
Yeah.
So balance isn't their top priority.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
What do you have yet, Nolan?
I don't understand why speedrunning has ever been a thing.
It's just
It's
fun to
fun.
see. I was gonna say I used to
Speedrunning's
do
a
it pretty often.
long-run video
How
game.
can it be fun to play a game if you're just like trying to exploit glitches? Like, I don't get it. Like, you're looking for like game breaking things. Like, you're reading source code to try and figure out how to shave 0.3 seconds off your time. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck is that?
Okay, not all people get that far into it, but
I was gonna say I was never
speedrunning's been a
that far into
thing.
it, but I enjoy it.
it's been a thing in a lot of games for a long time. Like people used to try to speedrun the old Mario games once they got to the point where they could actually beat them.
People being
Those are
yourself.
still no, I never got good enough to speedrun them, but
That's surprising because you were oddly good at those games.
I was. But also, those are oddly hard games.
Yeah,
So-
because it was just one difficulty, and it wasn't like a baby
Yep.
difficulty. It was everyone's playing this game, so we're gonna make it hard. Like,
Exactly. And with the older ones, you got your 4 lives, and that's all you got. At least the third one,
mhm.
you kind of had a system where you wouldn't lose all your progress, but it was still, you could easily get stuck in a world and basically be unable to move past it. So,
Mhm.
anyway, I forget where my point was with this, but speedrunning is also kind of a thing when someone has played so much of a game that the game itself has lost a bit of the appeal.
Yeah, because after
It-
you beat the Ender Dragon too many times, it stops being, oh, can I beat the dragon? It becomes, all right, how much faster can I do this? And so it's just like challenging against yourself, which was always my appeal.
Mhm.
Because I knew at a certain point I wasn't ever going to be like the best at PvP, but I was always interested in seeing how far I could push my own abilities against myself.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, you can't be healthy and be crazy good at Minecraft PvP.
no.
It takes way too long and way too much.
And because the meta is constantly changing, you just can't keep up unless that's all you're doing.
Yep.
Alex just said, I bought an NES not too long ago. Those old games are so much fun.
They are.
I can't see around the heart what the rest. It says, I'm kind of bad though, lol.
Yeah,
yeah.
it takes a lot of practice. Again, so when I was growing up, the only video game system we had in the house was my dad's old NES. So I just would play the Mario games because that's all I had access to.
Mhm.
And he also, him and his buddies all would have grown up playing those games.
Mhm.
So that's what they talked about at school. Was like, hey, did you find the hidden block on X level or whatever?
Yeah.
So I was able to actually kind of learn from those guys a lot of the old guy tricks,
Yeah.
which is funny to say about a video game, but
But I mean,
yeah.
that'll be like how when we're old, games like this and even Call of Duty and stuff will be like the old guy games.
yeah,
That's weird to think about.
yeah, it is.
What? I feel like the games that are going to be popular 30 years from now are where it's like that one meme where the kid's like, hey, Grandpa, put on this VR headset. Grandpa puts on the VR headset, spends like 6,000 years falling and screaming down a pit of endless terror.
It's just gonna be like,
Like,
skibbity toilet
and then-
games.
And then it like pops up and like he's lived 6,000 years and is like mentally like tarnished forever. And those kids are like, we got you.
Yeah. That is interesting to think about where gaming will be when we have kids.
I think gaming is going to implode on itself at some point. We're already hitting the point where like VR things. I think so. There's a book. I don't remember what the series is, but it was really
Hey,
popular when I was growing up.
Is Nolan again disproving the theory that he's illiterate?
Yes.
Thank you, Ben. Very cool.
You're welcome, Nolan.
But
Looking out for you.
there's a book that was like, it was a popular young adult series, but the whole like gimmick of the book was that it took place in like a VR world, and in the real world, like there was like these tech overlords that were like controlling.
Oh, Ready Player One.
No. Ready Player One actually kind of gets into that a little bit though.
That's
Similar
the
concept.
Matrix, Nolan. That's the Matrix. Also, season 4 of Ninjago.
Also, The Matrix is overhyped. I didn't enjoy it.
It was not season 4 of
Yeah, it is. Season 4 is the Borg one, isn't it? Cyrus Borg, the cyborg guy. With
Nerd
the really
alert!
clever
Nerd
look.
alert!
Come on, it's Nolan. He gets Ninjago
No,
lore.
I
That's true.
What's Ninjago actually?
Yeah, nice
What
try,
is
Nolan.
Lego?
You talk about it more than any of the rest of us.
Yeah.
I actually talk about it mostly for the memes. It's funny to like meme about like hello class, today we will be talking about the entirety of Ninjago lore, long before time had a name. Like
Do, 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 do,
like
do,
that stuff.
do,
Type
Yeah,
A,
like that.
type A. And that'll be all the context that you get for that line. Alex said, I think it's season 3.
Oh, thanks. No, because
Yeah,
3 was the
season
Stone
4.
Warriors,
No,
wasn't it?
because that was season 2. Ninjago's weird because that's the pilot doesn't count as a season.
That's
Oh, yeah,
true.
he
That
says it
always
was
goes
snakes,
wrong,
rock guys, and then tech.
which
yeah,
is
'cause
sad,
the
'cause I
pilot
think
was,
Skeleton-
Also, they do a whole like they revamp the digital avatar series in season 12.
Oh, did they? That's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't watch
it's not
past
good.
the Ghost season. I think is the last that I've seen, and that's largely because,
It's also last time was good.
as I say, the last season that I watched of my own volition was the Stone Warrior one, which I think was 3, right?
Maybe.
Or maybe that was only 2. I think that was
Yeah, he
2.
says rock guys, so it would have been season 2. So technically 3 if you count the pilot, but season 2 by their
No,
numbers.
it's season 3 because season 1 or the
Guys, were
pilot.
season 2.
Pilot is the skeleton.
Yep.
Season 1. Listen to me. This is pilot. Wow, the
Type A, type
fiercest
A.
argument we've had on here in a while.
Listen to me over Ninjago lore.
About Ninjago. I'm not even a huge Ninjago guy either. But anyway, no, because season 1, the pilot is the skeleton. Season 1
Yes.
is the snakes and the Great Devourer. Season 2 is snakes after the Devourer, and it leads up to. Oh wait,
No, those are the same season. It was weird.
dang,
That
that
season was
you're right. That's just a really long season.
that
Never mind.
season was really dissonant. And actually, because Minecraft uses the stock noise for the water, the Lego Ninjago season, like 1 with the snakes, uses the stock water splash sound effect when they fall into water. And it's the same as Minecraft.
So someone just joined our chat and said, I finally found it. The Christian Minecraft server.
It's so funny.
No,
As we're talking-
Several turns right about that time.
No swearing on my Christian Minecraft server. Honestly, though. That's so
Well,
funny. Subscribe.
Wow, they didn't join when we were having a serious conversation. They
No.
joined when we were talking about Lego Ninjago.
They didn't
Like,
join when we were
think
going
about
into
how
deep
this-
discourse
think about how
about
this looks.
Nebuchadnezzar and Jonah. They joined when we were discussing what season was what on Ninjago.
That's actually really funny. Yeah, they're not gonna. I don't think we got their sub.
So funny.
That's really funny.
No.
I find a lot of nostalgia in it. That's what I grew up on. You know what I also do find a lot of nostalgia for? I
What?
got a lot of
Powers?
nostalgia for VeggieTales. I grew
Oh
up on that stuff.
Yeah,
And, like,
I'm
as-
with you there.
Mhm.
I
VeggieTales
I
is
don't
my
like the
jam.
way that I don't like how it drifts toward moralism and teaching kids that like the lesson of this is that you have to do what's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, part of
also
that is
they
it's
are
kids media.
teaching the young audience.
That's
And I
true,
think
and there's
Phil
really not a lot
Fisher-
you can do.
Phil Vischer does steer away from a lot of the Christological themes in the
He
Bible.
also
I think-
steers toward universalism, but
Yeah.
well, I think largely though, like I'll give him credit. I think he's trying to respect Christ by not portraying him as a vegetable.
Yeah, that was
he
something
only
his
likes
mom told him
mom
to
told
do.
him he couldn't.
Well,
Also
you know,
because
mothers
he's-
can have
also-
wisdom.
Part of that is also because it's got to stay non-denominational.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you got to be cautious with
Once
because
you
you
get
want it to be
involved
open
in-
to all Christian children and not just like one group of them.
That's
Yeah.
true. You got to watch out for Catholics.
What the heck? I was more referring to the Methodists, but kidding.
Ew.
Mostly.
I wonder where a Christian Minecraft server guy came from. If he just like stumbled.
I don't know.
across
It's
this,
your
like,
their name is It's Your Boy Kerbo.
Turbo.
And it's
Like
got like
I feel like if-
yeah, it has a
I feel like
Kirby
if he came here-
Kirby icon.
Oh,
I
nice.
feel like if he came here from Jared's server, he'd be like, "Oh yeah," but instead he's like the Christian Minecraft server. So either he's from Jared's server, he's cool, or
Yeah, if you're still here, which you
or
honestly
just
probably
stumbled
aren't.
across it.
How did you find us? I'm always interested in
What
hearing
in
like
the
how people
world-
find the channel when it's not like someone I
Hey,
know and I like
What
personally
in the
upload
world
it to.
would entice you to watch this channel?
Hey now.
Right, because I mean, I know at least Jacob begs people to watch his stream on different channels he's in, but
I only posted it in the VGM Discord today.
oh really?
Yeah. I've kind of stopped posting it in a lot of them because I don't want to be annoying.
Okay, remind me. What is? No, wait, never mind. I remember what Silk Touch does. I'd rather have Fortune.
You're an idiot, Ben.
Which no, I'm not. Which unfortunately means I need to go grind for another level, which takes forever.
Wait, are you at home right now?
Yeah, I'm using
Can
your
you
enchanting
can you
table.
TP me? I can't
No.
figure out how to get out of this mine.
Where? Dig up.
Just pillar up.
Use
That's what
the
I
old
usually do.
ways. Use the old ways, Jacob.
I don't wanna.
Do it.
Yes,
You are weak.
This is a server. No cheating on my Christian Minecraft server.
Hey now.
I'm cracking down.
Okay, mister, I died. Can I get 33 levels back? Ooh, diamonds.
35 currently, actually, but
Mark just
No,
said, I'm back
25.
and I have tacos. Nice. So they weren't out. How many tacos did you get and what kind? That's the real question. Beef, pork, chicken. That's
And
the
which
types
is
of
the
tacos.
best?
And I guess technically ground beef and steak are different. But
for the Colorado or like the first Colorado trip in college, we were at like I think we were at Rusty Tacos.
yeah, and it
Um,
really wasn't that good. It was just really
No,
expensive.
it wasn't very good, but they had two tacos on the menu. One was called the Republican, and it had like a whole bunch of meat in it. And then it was called the Democrat, and it had a bunch of like spicy food in it, and then it had like some tofu meat or something.
Yeah, it was like a veggie taco. That was really
it was
funny.
really on the nose. I remember this one girl who was on our trip, Anna. She got like upset at me because it was during an election year, and I got the Republican, the Democrat taco, and I loudly told everybody that whichever taco was better was who I was voting for.
That was really funny.
Funny.
Mark
But, like,
said
I
he
was
got
clear-
5 steak tacos.
Like,
Steak.
she got 5
Good
tacos
choice.
that all have steak in them, or like they have 5 different kinds of steak.
I'm guessing five tacos that have steak
Hold
in
on.
them.
How would you have 5 different types of steak in a taco?
Wagyu, brown cow, spotted cow,
Chocolate
spotted
cow.
white cow.
Chocolate milk cow.
I stand corrected.
My favorite
I
type of
bow
cow.
before your superior wisdom.
I was gonna say, remember, Nolan is well read. He
True.
knows
Yeah,
about
I
all
know
the
how
different
to
types of
read.
Nolan
cows.
is not actually illiterate.
Hence why he knows about all the different. Wait, what is playing right now? I just realized there's words in this song.
I don't know. I can't hear it.
Words in a Minecraft song is diabolical. What is that even?
Wait, why are there words in my music? I don't know
Well-
if that can't be.
Copyright struck and banned.
I'm going to a random non-copyright
No.
music's
It
playlist.
can't be.
All right, shuffle.
Ah.
Ah,
Oh.
there we go. All right, hopefully this playlist doesn't get me copyright struck. All right, so we already kind of talked about our 2 topics for today. So if there's anyone in chat who has any questions about either us personally or the Bible,
Oh,
let
you
us
missed
know.
one.
What did I
Which
miss?
character do we
Oh,
most?
that's right. I forgot about
appreciate?
that. Yeah, that's a good
I'm
one.
curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, so that was the other question. So after we talked that, yeah, I forgot about that question. After we talked about, you know, what our favorite character is, which character do you most closely identify with? And don't say Jesus. Just kidding. I know neither of you would. Hopefully, the music isn't playing on stream.
You know, that might be for the best, honestly. If
It
it's
should be.
gonna throw random
It might just be really quiet.
pit.
Here, is that better, Mark? Mark's question was, what's the worst Bible verse? That's a good one. I'll put that on our list for later. Or another stream. So I answered the last one first. Nolan, you go first on this one. What Bible character do you most closely identify with? Or relate to, I guess would be a better term. Hello?
Give him a minute.
Oh.
The cogs are turning.
I thought all of a sudden I like lagged out of Discord or something because it was just absolutely quiet. Is Nolan still in
Which is
Discord?
rare. I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. I'm sure he'll tune back in a minute.
Alright, while he's zoned out, Ben, what
Whoa! Pardon the...
I'm so
Yeah,
confused
dude.
what's going on right now. Ben,
I got
what character for you?
me?
Yeah.
Solomon, because I pull.
Jacob.
I literally am just looking at the music is now very, very low, but still can't really hear. Okay, that was kind of the goal, just for it to kind of be there. And if I turn it up too much louder, then it's going to be blasting in my ears. It was mostly just something to kind of fill the background noise when it was just super quiet. All right, so since it's not Solomon, Ben.
Ha! Honestly, maybe Jonathan,
Mm,
because I feel like I fall into that sidekick friend role really easily. And that's,
Jonathan's not a sidekick though.
he kind of is a sidekick character. Not completely. Jonathan's awesome. He's actually one of the, in my opinion, one of the most admirable Old Testament characters with the fewest flaws. But he seems to value, you know, loyalty in God a lot, which are things I value a lot.
yeah.
He's not perfect. He's not, again, really the prime mover in the stories he's in. But he's there, and he's doing his best to serve God no matter what's going on around him. I don't know. I feel like that's a hard one to self-identify.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm going to think of what I ideally wish I was,
Hmm.
not necessarily what I actually am.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jonathan is also enough of a godly man where he raised a son who is like following in his footsteps and wanted to also be a godly man.
True. Which is very rare biblically.
Yeah, especially for kings.
Well, actually, we're not sure. We're not entirely sure how Mephibosheth turned out, but we know he was humble and we know he humbled himself before David.
There's debate over his role in the whole confusion between him and his servant or whatever it was, but
Is he?
Yeah. it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Also,
it
not
does-
entirely important.
Yeah. But as far as we know, Mephibosheth, whatever his name is, seems to be a
Gesundheit.
good guy. Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Nolan, do you have an answer now that you're back?
For a favorite Bible character?
No,
Character
one
that you
mostly-
identify with.
Ooh, I didn't realize that's what was being asked. I thought we were still talking about favorite characters.
No. Can you put power on a crossbow?
No, I think it's called piercing. Or maybe you can put
Doesn't-
power. I actually don't know.
Does piercing do the same thing?
I think so. Or no, I think piercing like helps negate armor.
Yeah, so that's
Piercing-
useful against...
No, piercing's a crossbow enchantment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does it do?
It makes it so you can shoot through something and have it hit a thing behind it.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what? Like, so there's a like a challenge advancement that gives you like 5 levels if you kill 3 phantoms with the same piercing bow.
Huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nolan, I'm still not fully convinced these challenge levels are a real thing. I have not yet to see
No,
any
they're legit.
gain levels from them. Jacob, are they legit?
I don't know. I've never really done much with them.
Okay.
So like there's a secret one where you could have to have every potion effect applied to you at once.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then another one that's even harder to get where you have to have every status effect applied to you at once.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Including
oddly
the
enough
weird
are
ones like
two different ones.
levitation
And like
dolphins.
dolphins. There's a lot of weird ones in that.
And now you have to attract a warden upstairs so that you can get blindness.
Yeah, it's much more difficult to get now following the warden update. What are our home chords? 200, 700?
Roughly
yeah,
200, roughly
200,
700.
700.
Okay.
If you head towards that spot, you'll usually see Nolan's tower in the sky.
Okay.
Which I'm about to start working on again as soon as I finish cutting down some more cherry trees for wood.
Nice.
I need more mobs to kill. I'm like a quarter of a level away from where I need to be.
I wondered why I was running through a forest in the middle of the night getting chased by skeletons.
Yes. Because I'm on the prowl. I'm
Yeah.
hunting.
While we're kind of on a break in conversation here, while we're kind of thinking about our answers, if anyone's in the chat who isn't subscribed or hasn't liked, go ahead and go do both of those things. That'd be greatly appreciated. And like I said earlier, but I don't know who all was in here. If you have any questions for us, to either like just personally or about the Bible or whatever, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. And I'll be sure to take note of them and either discuss them this time or put them in we have a document with all of our questions to discuss. So yeah, there's my plug.
You know, if we need to kill another half hour, we can always just look at that. But
Yeah. Oh, hi, Nolan. Yeehaw. Yeah, it's always... Or, sorry, go for it, Nolan.
I was thinking, I'm just trying to think of characters that I identify a lot with. I don't know. It's hard to... I think a lot of the characters are... You're supposed to identify with and relate with a lot of characters in the Bible. Obviously, there's some that you should not identify with or relate to.
like Solomon?
Yes. Certain aspects of Solomon.
Yikes. I don't know. I think it is very easy for me to start because I'm kind of
Oh!
How did that happen?
Gosh, dang it!
I am very loyal where family is concerned. And well, this is going to be kind of a double-edged sword. So I also have a bit of a rebellious streak. And so I kind of, again, bad guy. I kind of understand Absalom a little bit. I think Absalom is a super, like, vain and haughty dude. But the second that his sister is, like, attacked by his other half-brother, the claws come out.
That's true.
First half of Absalom's story is pretty understandable.
Yeah, I mean, it gets not understandable because I think his rebellious streak, and also, I think a lot of Absalom is directly David's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's David's fault for being a piece of crap dad.
Yeah. Bad parenting has a bigger effect than we often realize.
Yeah. And David's approach to parenting was like he never punished his sons for anything. Like, even Amnon committed this, like, egregiously horrible sin. Like, one of the more horrible sins in the Bible.
But you know the reason that Jacob could never punish his sons? Because that was after the Bathsheba thing. So he was just too guilty himself
Yeah,
to feel like he could punish his sons.
that's true.
That's true.
Because they wouldn't listen to him.
What if sons listen to him? Because his sin was public.
Yeah.
Also, I learned some more details about the, just through, like, studying. I learned some more details about the Bathsheba thing that are a little more icky. So, by the time the whole Bathsheba thing had happened, David was, like, in his, like, late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, he was not a
King
young
for a
man
while.
anymore.
Her grandpa was one of David's, like, close advisors. Her grandpa was David's, like, close advisor, like, in his inner circle, like, in his, like, small council of, like, being a king. And her father was one of David's mighty men. Because he's listed, you can trace Bathsheba's dad through the Ahithophel connection. I think Ahithophel's the grandpa. But through Ahithophel, you can trace to who Bathsheba's dad was in, I think in First Chronicles, where you find out he was actually one of David's mighty men. And Bathsheba would have been, like, like 18 or 19 when the David and Bathsheba story happened.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that Bathsheba's sin is excused. Bathsheba clearly was not in a great position, but I also do not think that David like took advantage of Bathsheba. I know he didn't rape Bathsheba, but I think he did take advantage of her. It's a young girl, and also David knew who she was. When David's walking around in the roof where like she's bathing, she's near the palace. So David is like in a place where he has view of like some woman who's bathing in the palace. I think the idea of like she was bathing in like on her roof is like a moot point because I think everybody did that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But David is in a place where he shouldn't be, looking at his friend's daughter. So like, even though yes, Bathsheba did sleep with David, it is never like, I'm sure she's in a position where it'd be difficult to say no, but not impossible. Like, so it kind of, and like this is probably a girl who David's sons are like growing up playing in like the palace gardens with.
Yeah.
So like,
which just takes on a whole nother level of icky.
Yeah, I think that contributes to a lot of like why David's kids like turn out the way they do, just like not giving a crap about David really.
Yeah, because why would you if that was your, you know, if that's the guy who was supposed to be your role model, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a very strong cautionary tale. Because again, David had everything going for him. He had...
Not after that.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. You see very few triumphs of David's after that point in the biblical text.
Yeah.
It's incredible how quickly everything falls apart for him.
It still ends on a high note.
God still loves him.
Yeah, I think it is interesting because 2 Samuel still ends on a high note. Like it does not.
Yeah.
If it didn't end on a high note, it would be a really depressing book to read. But it still ends with like good things that David did. It ends with like he's exerting biblical justice on the family of Saul for their role in like betraying the Gibeonites. So there are still bright points. They are just a lot fewer and further between.
Yeah.
Yep.
So some questions. I'm just going to update you on what happened in the chat.
Yeah.
That I wrote down. I got 3 questions, and I put them in our list because some of them we'll probably have to think about.
No, I will boldly answer all of them based on first impulses and aggressively defend whatever answer I give.
Classic. We got worst Bible verse, which there's a couple different ways you could take it. Probably either the 2 ways I could see it is what's the Bible verse that we struggle with the most, with either like knowing what it means and just like not liking what it means, but knowing that that's truth, or just most uncomfy Bible verse, which is definitely in the Old Testament. Least favorite Bible character, which we could probably find like a angry someone. And then Alex had a good question. Debate between New Earth creationism and God influencing evolution.
Creationism. I don't think we can do the creationism one tonight.
No, and I feel like we all probably land more along the lines of New Earth creationism, if I'm not mistaken. But that would be an interesting one to go through and also like, you know, look at from the perspective of the God influencing evolution.
Yeah.
And just have like a debate about, you know, not is it true, because I feel like we're all pretty set in what we think about that, but just to look at the merits of it and actually discuss them rather than just being like, no, that's dumb.
Intelligent people on both sides who have thoroughly biblical conclusions.
Yeah, who've all spent way more time looking at it than I have, but I still have my opinion, which is obviously correct and no one can prove me otherwise. Right, Ben?
Amen.
Amazing.
Like that in all of my life, and I never want to be a person like that again.
Stop talking about Ben like that.
It's a good thing one of those people didn't stay at your house this weekend.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thanks for that one. Someone said to turn all my blocks of iron and diamond into, or all my iron, diamond, get out of the way, horse. All this stuff into blocks so that I don't run out of space.
Yeah, I've been doing that with copper, but that's so stupid much copper.
That's why I just don't even gather copper at this point.
Yeah, but I can get a little bit of experience from smelting it, and also I'm gonna, I think, eventually rebuild the house in copper because I have so much of it. I think that'd be fun.
That would be cool. And it would get, or even if you just texture it in copper.
Yeah.
But welcome to the stream. I'm gonna butcher your name. Keir H. Keir. I think that's Keir. I might be wrong. But welcome.
Sure, it's an H and not an N. Like, not Kieran.
It's a R.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like space H for their last name. If you don't mind me asking, how'd you find the stream? I'm just curious. Every time there's someone who I haven't seen pop in before, I'm always curious how they found us. Mark just had another good question. What are your thoughts on Saul seeing Samuel's ghost through a medium?
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one.
I don't want to avoid other questions that got asked before that one, though.
What's that?
I don't want to avoid questions that got asked before.
Yeah,
that
no.
One,
so that's why I'm writing all these down to be either discussed. My full name is Kieran. I just didn't put in my full name. Yeah, no worries. Cool. How's it going, Kieran? How'd you find us? And I saw it on my For You page. Oh, awesome. I didn't know we were getting on For You pages, if I'm being totally honest.
We are moving up in the
doing
world.
something. We're doing something. Sorry, I'm copy and pasting Mark's question into our doc.
Moving up in the world. We're Minecraft YouTubers.
That's true.
Our streaming out in the Chicago lore probably had something to do with it.
What's the first one that we want to hit out of those questions? Because we had a good one that got posed. I think I like from some of the first ones that came out.
The first one we got was what is the... I don't know if there's even a good way to answer this, Mark. What's the worst Bible verse? I was gonna say that's a hard one because, biblically, there is no bad Bible verse. How I'm kind of looking at that question is, what's the verse that I personally have the most difficulty with? I'm trying to think of what a good one would be. Sorry, I'm in the middle of crafting up beds so I can go netherite mining again. Alright, no way. Thanks for the subscription, and yeah, check out the VODs. We did a couple edited videos too that are kind of shorter content than the 2-hour streams, but I stream most Tuesdays and Thursdays right around 7:30 CST. So if you're on around then, check us out.
So I do the majority of the editing down to the highlights, so the quality is a bit questionable sometimes, and they've been a bit slow. Yeah. I've got a few more streams still to work through, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean,
also,
that's
I'm still not 100% sure how to cut down the ones where we actually have good discussions.
Yeah, those might just have to...
funny screaming moments.
Yeah, honestly, like, these ones we might just genuinely have to do, like, more of, like, like, just a longer form content.
Yeah.
Of, what am I doing here? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to combine armors. But just do more of, like, that longer form... like just cut it down to the full conversation for that topic. And then we could just post the boys talk about X, Y, Z.
Cut out the excess parts that aren't really relevant to the topic itself.
Yeah, shave it around so it's more focused.
Somewhat. Wait, you mean
worst thing in the world?
Poop.
How'd that happen, Ben?
I was trying to run back with 2 hearts after just grabbing my stuff and sprinting.
Nice. I'm about to head to do some more netherite mining.
I need to find a way to experience grind that doesn't involve the nether.
Yeah. Genuinely one of the best ways is like just doing like a farm of some sort for breeding animals and then culling and but worst Bible verse. What's one? I'm trying to think of one that like. Again, it's a weird question to talk through. But I don't think it's without merit, per se. I think it's just a difficult one, because the Bible's perfect and inerrant in its original manuscripts. However, there's definitely, like... maybe another way to talk about it is, like, what's a doctrine that you have a hard time... Like, you believe and you agree with, but, like, it's difficult? Which that's also a very big question. And potentially edges into some level of heresy as well. But
that cube just picked me up and threw me into lava. That was fine.
That's really unfortunate. I actually have an answer for that. I just need to confirm which Bible verse it actually is.
Okay. Cool.
I'm thinking of either like the James one that causes so much confusion because he says, faith without works is dead. And just that becomes a very difficult verse that leads to a lot of confusion and a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, whatever I find first that talks about that can be used to support universalism, but
Yeah.
no. There aren't really bad verses.
Yeah.
They're hard.
Yeah. And I feel like practically there's some that, like, even if we agree with the doctrine and know what it says and are like in full agreement biblically, they're just hard to implement and live out, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm kind of waiting to hear what Nolan has to say before I really go anywhere with it. But no, that's a good question, Mark.
It's a very interesting one.
Right. If I'm thinking of for Bible verse that just like sucks to read, 1 Samuel 15:35. Until the day Samuel died, he did not go to see Saul again, though Samuel mourned for him. And the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. And that's just...
Oh, that is an
like,
interesting one.
It's a sad verse to read. Like,
Sad.
it's not... Because Saul has always been a faithless king, but, like, even in his early days, like, the Lord is still with him. And the Lord, like, regretting that he has made Saul king is, like, a massive hit. Like... I'm not saying that, like, God experiences regret the same way we did, like, oh, I wish I had not done that. Obviously, God's plan is perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
He gave the people exactly what they asked for, and Saul let them down.
Yeah.
It is, and that's so that, like, the breaking of fellowship there, that Samuel never saw Saul again after that whole incident with the Amalekites. So that passage, it just stinks of broken relationships all the time.
Yeah.
And broken relationships are something that I get sad about. And, like, the Lord... regrets. I think some of the translations even say grieve. I could be wrong about that. I'm not good with translation differences. Sorry, Pastor Mark, if you hear me. But yeah, it's sad. Like, it's sad to see people fail God. It's sad to see people that God gave so much to let him down so egregiously. And for God to, like, grieve that he made you king, to, like, grieve God, to grieve a holy God, like, you've got to have royally screwed up.
He had. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, worst versus tough. I don't necessarily want to say, like,
yeah,
man, I hate this verse. Sucks. I hate it. But it's a letdown. Like, the whole first kingship of Israel ends on a major letdown because of Saul's moral failure.
Yeah. And from a translation standpoint, like, that's a interesting verse to have to discuss with people, because it is like what does it mean that God regretted?
Yeah.
Because when we are always saying God has his perfect plan and it always works out for his good, which obviously we know it still did, even if it was, you know, not how he intended it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain that to people who don't already understand some of that theology behind it.
Sure.
I just keep mining into more and more lava, trying to do netherite mining.
You're still doing netherite mining?
Yeah, because I don't have full netherite yet. I need, like, just a few more pieces. I'm missing the boots and I think the sword.
Oh, gotcha.
So I need, like, 7 more scraps, I think. Which is what I'm kind of stuck on now.
Honestly, we might need to uproot and do nether mining in a different part of the map.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because I know there is still some around here. It's just a matter of actually reaching it and finding it.
What about you guys? Bible verses that you struggle with or maybe have trouble with? I'm not gonna say. Actually, I've kind of made the decision. I'm not gonna say least favorite or, like, Bible verse I dislike the most. I just don't want to say that. But I will say Bible verses that, like, you wrestle with, or Bible verses that, like, are just sad for you to read. And it doesn't have to be like I think we're also kind of generalizing everything as, like, an of all time kind of thing. And it's not like, I'm not really seeing this as, like, of all time. I'm just seeing it as, like, what's on your mind right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, like, probably the one that always, like, makes me sad to think about, or so I guess like my least favorite would be really like the, you know, technically it had to happen because, you know, it was prophesied about, but the betrayal of Jesus by Judas.
Fair.
And that might come from partially, you know, some of my background, you know, obviously none of my friends betrayed me and got me killed, but, you know, like just that idea of, you know, having like, even like, I'm not even saying like that Jesus, like obviously Jesus was saddened by it, but I'm thinking from the perspective of Judas, like that he was, because there was the regret afterwards. So the fact that he let himself be used by Satan to the effect of the death of Christ, you know, and that realization after the fact of, oh my gosh, I just betrayed my friend and now he's getting murdered. Like, you know, again, it had to happen, and without that happening, you know, someone else either would have had to do it or, you know, whatever. Like, it would, Jesus was going to get betrayed by someone. But just that whole passage of, you know, just the idea of, you know, Judas realized what had happened and was so distraught about it that he literally hung himself.
Yeah.
Mark just asked how long we're streaming.
Job of it too.
We're probably going to be on for probably about another, I don't know, 20 minutes. It's probably our guess. Did I see that you messaged me? I saw something pop up on my phone and I thought I saw your name, but I haven't looked at it yet. But yeah, so that's probably like the verse that when I think about like what Bible verse like makes me not sad for myself, or like, because originally when I was thinking about a way to answer this question, I was thinking like, what doctrine do I not like disagree with, but what doctrine do I struggle with the most? But so it's not even like this answer, but like just that idea of, you know, it's just a sad situation, you know.
Yeah.
But
Sad story, player.
it's a sad story. Oh, I'm on fire. But what about you, Ben?
Oh no.
Man, I can't think of one right now.
Yeah.
I can't think of a verse that I like, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Ben's just holier than us.
No, I've spent a lot
None
of
of our
time.
answers were heretical. I think I'm at peace with that.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to go for. It's not heretical, but like, you know, truthful of like, you know, what passage. I like that angle more of like what is, you know, hard.
Yes. Yeah, I guess then a hard verse would be the or I guess maybe a hard doctrine isn't so much that sometimes it's difficult to think that even the virtuous pagans have no chance or weren't saved. So like when I read about people in history who were legitimately like not good people, because no one is good except like God,
Yeah.
but people who overall seemed like they were doing the best they could with what they had, and knowing that there's not a way that they are saved.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
would say Lord, Lord.
I'm gonna sound like an absolute nerd for saying this, but like Aristotle had a lot of wise things in his writing. He didn't have everything right. He definitely had a lot of things wrong, but he was doing his best to try to figure out how to live a good life, but he didn't have God, and he was not saved, and the Bible is like resoundingly clear that there is no salvation apart from Christ. So I guess that's probably one that bothers me more than, again, not really bother me, but it's a bit sad. It saddens me more than most other doctrines.
There are some scary ones too, like all those who said to me, Lord. Not all who say to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's
that is terrifying.
And that leads into the whole question of, all right, what does that mean?
Yeah. Sorry, I was responding to a message.
I think it's just referring to those who claim the name of Christ, but inwardly, like, their hearts are far removed from him. That is, I think, in no way saying that you can lose your salvation.
I would agree with that. It's still concerning to read, though.
Yeah.
I actually was terrified of that verse growing up. Like, growing up, I did think you could lose your salvation growing up. Which, until I realized that, like, if I could walk away from my faith, I would have.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is it's not that like having faith is like I'm trying to think of how to describe it because I had to describe it to someone else recently as well, and I described it as like it's not that that when you become a Christian it's impossible to lose it, but it's that once you become a Christian you wouldn't ever leave it because you've been saved and you've been forgiven and you know what it is to be a Christian, and so it's more that idea of once you've been saved you would never choose to leave.
I think I would maybe disagree on the nuance there.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm open to discussing it because I mean you've probably looked into it more, and I know that also that's partially like difference in theology.
Division on the whole election thing is going to come into play too.
Yeah.
Is I do think that we are depraved enough as humans that we will not choose Christ for ourselves unless He intervenes in our lives. And honestly, I would extend that to eternal security as well. If we could walk away, I think we would. I think I am sinful enough and stupid enough that I would potentially... Oh, there's a skeleton spawner. Okay, cool. I would potentially throw away the good thing God has given me to get something of less value that is temporary.
Interesting.
And I think that because, from what I know of myself, I've seen myself basically attempt that with things before. Like,
yeah.
So if I could... If it was... I'm trying to think of this in a way that won't sound too bad, but...
Yeah, no, I know.
There are things I've done since I've been saved that if it were possible for me to lose my salvation, I probably would have. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, like, I have chosen, even while knowing that something was a sin, to commit that sin before. So...
Interesting.
It's an interesting one. It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would lean more on the... If I could throw it away, I probably would have. So I'm thankful that I can't, because it's not ultimately dependent on my decisions or actions. It's dependent on Christ.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a topic that we'll have to get into at a future point, because it is a very long conversation with the differences between some of that thing, some of those definitions.
Yep.
Which would be a very interesting one to get into.
As always, the definitions aren't always the most helpful thing, but
yeah,
kind of what we are left with.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a helpful thing for that with us is, not just going by Calvinist Arminian, but actually going issue by issue and why.
Yep.
Also, because Alex asked a good question, I don't want to ignore his question and just say, "Oh, we'll get to it later." I do want to give a very brief overview to that answer. To briefly answer his question, I am a New Earth creationist. I could explain how that was if given a ton of time, but we don't have a ton of time. So I just wanted to recognize, acknowledge, and answer that question.
Yeah.
I see the merit to theistic evolutionism, but I don't think I would hold to it.
Yeah. I feel like trying to hold to theistic evolution is going too far into trying to combine what is the perfect word of God with what we can understand.
I would agree 100%.
And to the point of if the from my understanding, the creation account is historical and not figurative, and because of that, if you were to view the creation account as theistic evolution instead of a pure 7-day New Age creation, then that would bring into question the whole rest of the book of Genesis. And if you can't believe the book of Genesis, you can't believe anything from within the scriptures. So that's kind of where I fall on that. I don't know if Ben has any more nuance to add to that.
Really? I think I would agree with all that. Sorry, I'm trying to keep measurements in my head and numbers. So a very large portion of my brain's RAM is occupied.
RAM. How much dedicated RAM?
Okay, I was about to make that joke. What was another question that came in that we didn't hit?
I actually just got another right now. That's probably a pretty quick answer, so let's actually hit that one. From Just Evans. Howdy. I don't know if I've seen you in here before, so comment how you found us, actually. His question is, what is your opinion on buying and wearing a cross? So I'm guessing he's referencing some of the doctrine around no graven images. Ben, you'd probably... I feel like... although you're deep in thought right now.
No, I'm good. I've got the outline done, so I don't need to focus.
I was gonna say, I feel like Ben, you would probably have a interesting. That sounds bad, but I feel like you might have a pretty thought out view on this, because I know that, and this is going to sound bad, but you, you know, if we were to do an alignment chart with our doctrine, you would be on the conservative end of the three of us. Not saying that none of us, that we're all like anything aren't more conservative with our theology, but you're definitely probably the furthest.
We have a fourth member of BibleCraft who sometimes joins when he can.
Yeah. R.I.P. Joe.
Also, yeah. So the graven images thing is something I've thought about also because do I tell the story about the time I was accused of idolatry for having a picture of Jesus in my dorm room?
Sure. That's good context for this conversation.
Yeah. So that happened once. I had found a picture of Jesus actually at camp, and it was in a storage room and looked like it was about to get thrown away, so I just kind of grabbed it and I put it in my dorm room, and then some other guy walked in and you know how people will say something in a joking way so that they don't sound like they're trying to offend you, but they mean it in a very pointed way?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was done, and I was like, oh, so basically I was accused of being an idolater for that, but I don't think I was. Like, I didn't agree with the guy.
No.
The graven images thing is... This is actually really hotly debated throughout church history. This is one of the big things that the Catholic and Orthodox Church is split over.
Yeah.
Was the place of icons in the church. As far as a cross to wear, I don't think that would count as a graven image because it's not an image of anything living.
No, and you're not worshiping the cross itself.
No. There's no worship being given to it, and even if you were to say that it's wrong to have a picture of Jesus, the cross is not Christ. It is a picture of... It's a symbol of something he did. And it's a symbol that refers to him. And the early Christians used, like, the fish symbol as a symbol. Like, I don't think the cross thing, to this guy who asked the question, I would not say he's at all in the wrong for buying or wearing a cross.
No.
I do think once you do that, though, and you're wearing Christian jewelry around, you have put yourself in a place where you need to be a whole lot more careful about your conduct.
That's true.
Because you are actively trying to proclaim that you are a Christian. And so if you walk around with a cross and then you just talk and act like all the other guys at high school and you make all the same jokes about stuff, all of a sudden I think you would be in the wrong.
That's a good
but
point.
Not because of the cross, but because of how you're portraying Christ.
Yeah. Similar vibe to like the people who go super fast while having a Jesus and cut people off in traffic while having a Jesus fish on the back of their car.
It's a similar concept where, there's nothing wrong with having a Jesus fish, but
it's a bad representation of Christ.
Yes, you've got to be very aware of how you're coming across to the rest of the world.
As image bearers of his kingdom.
Yep, the image bearing thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't answer. I know I have completely dodged the theological side of the question, and that's partially because that's one that I am still working through. But
I was gonna say I personally don't think it's wrong. I mean, and that's coming from me who is considering getting some form of cross attire or tattoo or something in the future, which is a whole other debate for another night.
For tonight.
But the fact of the matter is, it's not an object of our worship. However, it's the this is a really bad comparison. However, it reminds me slightly, if used properly, of the same general principle behind communion. Do this in remembrance of me so you don't forget what I've done. And obviously I know there's more to communion than what I just said. However, I view using cross necklaces and attire and tattoos and all that and stickers and yada 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 as like a way to remember what Christ has done, because you're not worshiping the Christ or the cross itself. However, it's a reminder of who Jesus is and what he did for you when he died, in a very vivid way. Because in front of you all day if you have it on you in any form of attire or clothing, etc.
Yeah.
And again, I know it's totally different than communion, so that's not what I meant. I wasn't equating clothing to communion. I don't want anyone to think that.
You're good.
But it's that same.
May I pose a thought?
Yeah.
I was thinking of 2 Kings 18. Because because in 2 Kings 18, it's when Hezekiah takes office in Judah, and one of the first things he does when he is elected king is he removes the high places, he smashes the sacred stones, cuts down the Asherah pole, but specifically the author notes that he broke into pieces the bronze snake that Moses had made. Because at the time, the Israelites had been burning incense to it. The bronze snake that Moses raised up in the wilderness as a symbol of God's provision was being worshipped. Like, so they took this one thing that was a symbol. Also, this is kind of where relics come into play with the Catholic Church, where they're like worshiping the skull of Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
And when the Israelites start worshiping the image of the bronze snake, he takes it, he breaks it into pieces. It's the same thing with the golden calf. They break it into pieces, and Moses and Aaron Moses actually forces the Israelites to drink it.
So is the issue there then the worship, or the fact that the image was? Because clearly it's not that the snake itself was completely wrong, because God commanded Moses to make it. But as soon as it turned into an object of worship, it was wrong and completely sinful.
And so that's what I think it is. There's
thing too.
I'm gonna pause out real quick. There's some good comments here. Jared with VGM, he said, great point. It's like having a Jesus sticker on your car and speak. So he must have said that right when I said it. And then he said it can also be a reminder of the verse of take up your cross and follow me, because and I'm guessing this is where he's going with it. Like, like you said yourself, Ben, if you have something that represents yourself as a Christian on you, you have to be living to a higher standard because everyone around you knows. And that's part of the reason why I routinely will wear like my Lakeside Church shirt, or my shirt that I made at a class at school that's got like a Christian logo on it, because of the fact that I know when I'm wearing this, I have to remember who I'm representing and what I'm doing.
Is it the Abundant Life shirt?
No, it's the one that my class made.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
And so and then Just Evans, who asked the question, said, "Thanks for your helpful responses. I'll consider possibly getting one."
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Someone take our opinion.
Sense of belonging. Christians were like mocked for the cross in the early days of Christianity, because they worshipped a criminal and his cross was like the thing. But the cross, which is like the way a criminal died, it's representative of the kind of God we serve. A God who forgives criminals and died like a criminal because he was justly punished in place of us for our sins, which is what the cross represents.
And not just that he died like a criminal, but also forgave a criminal while dying just because of his faith in him.
Yeah, totally. And I think a cross is about belonging, and our faith is a community faith. Like, we're not saved into like this hyper individualistic, just me and God faith.
Yeah,
we're saved into a community, and a cross as an identifier with a community, which means your actions are seen with scrutiny, but also like great thing.
Yeah. I think that was a good topic.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's a really good
go
question.
for it. But yeah, sorry, I'm cutting you off again real quick. But yeah, like those questions, go ahead and ask questions again if you guys have any questions. And even if we don't get it to them today, because I know we're almost done with our time here, I'll put them on a list and we'll definitely answer them either next week or sometime after that. Sorry, go for it, Ben.
Way do you have to be from a skeleton or from a spawner before it'll spawn things?
12 blocks, I think.
What was that? Oh, how far do you have to be? Yeah, I don't actually know.
Try and turn this thing into a mob farm.
I think it's within 2 chunks or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So
Ben,
what would that
you?
be? 30
I can
blocks.
actually come help you with that.
Oh, I'm way underground.
And I'm currently lost in our netherite mine.
Ben, can you hear this?
No, I cannot.
So
after we're done streaming, you can help me with that, maybe.
One other thought on the same image or same loose topic of that is going back to the graven images. What do you guys think about, like you said, pictures of like having pictures of him, or some churches will have like statues of Jesus behind the altar? What do you guys think about that?
Oof.
Statues thing I think is getting a little bit far. I honestly think pictures of Jesus is fine. I think that Emmaus student, if I'm thinking of the right student who went into Ben's room and complained about that, if it's the person I'm thinking of, they're an egghead and their opinion should not be taken seriously. I hope they weren't listening, but
they're probably
also, but also like A picture of Jesus is fine. Like, we have pictures of our friends and family members. We have pictures on our walls of people who are important to us.
Yeah.
In my office right now, I have a picture of Ben, Jacob, and one of our other friends from our winter banquet at Emmaus. Because they're my friends, and because that is it's important to me that they're represented in my life and on the walls of my home and on my office. I think a picture of Jesus is fine. When you get to a point of a statue, it gets to a point of you look like a Buddhist. Like, because our faith is unlike other faiths. I think it's a problem if you're worshiping a statue. Same with the bronze snake.
Yeah. I absolutely cannot find my way out of this maze that we've made down here.
Yeah,
I'm coming to help you.
Forever.
Jacob, I'm on my way to help you.
Oh, that's an
Yeah.
interesting point. Jared, actually, while you're here, because I know we've got to end because we're already over 2 hours now. I'll be reaching out at some point. We're loosely thinking about doing some form of like an interview world where we have people just build houses in a neighborhood and we just interview them. But I'll reach out to you individually once we figure out some more details on that. But Jared just brought up a good point, and he was on the like, because we loosely talked about tattoos, and he said Hebrews 8:10 is, "For this is a covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people." And he said, written on your heart, so that term, he said he always imagined the permanence of this covenant as like a tattoo on your heart, because you can't ever remove it. That's an interesting point.
That is an interesting point.
Let me think about that. Because it is a very permanent, and I don't remember which stream it was, but there was a stream where we did talk about some of the covenants of covenantal theology versus et cetera, et cetera. And so we did loosely touch on some of that, but that is an interesting way to think about it, because, you know, obviously tattoos are permanent, and there are ways to get rid of them, but not well, and there will always be the mark or like a remnant. Then you'll always know it was there, especially if it's on your heart, because, you know, you really can't remove something from your heart. That's an interesting way to think about it. That's a good analogy. I'll have to think through it a little bit more, but I like that as my initial thought. But yeah, so that's something that we're kind of thinking about doing. I'm running back.
Are we talking about the tattoo thing?
Yeah, go for it if you have a quick thought on it.
I still hesitate on tattoos. I really do, because there's the one verse in the Old Testament that specifically says, "Don't make marks, don't get tattoos."
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are other I know where the argument goes. I know there are other Old Testament verses that we don't still take at face value because they were made to a certain people at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me personally uneasy to do something that I know there's a direct commandment against that I haven't seen rescinded anywhere. I haven't seen any New Testament person give themselves a tattoo. So where I'm at a similar place to where I am with the drinking thing, where I'm not going to tell someone else that it's a sin for them to have a tattoo, but I would not get one personally, because there's too much doubt in my mind about it.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, I mean, you know my stance on them. Personally, I'm on the side of, you know, I view that verse as, you know, more talking about devoting yourself to other gods and using it in that sense, because that was, you know, in those times, you know, that's where a lot of those tattoos came from, was as a way of, you know, devoting yourself to a god as a covenant similar to that. And so I know that's somewhere where we both already naturally disagree, and that's all right. Like, that's, you know, that's the beauty of what we're doing here, is we can disagree in a healthy way and actually discuss what we think.
And again, I'm not going to say
I once met a guy who was like, tattoos are bad because Satan can go into your body through the tattoo and possess you. And
Nice.
like, obviously
you have met a lot of interesting people.
He really has.
I have. That was a person really. They were very charismatic, but I think to a problematic level. And not that being charismatic is wrong, but like anything, if you turn charismatic theology into an idol and you start turning it into some more like cult-like behavior, I think you've reached a point where you should probably calm down.
Real quick here, I have a guy in the chat who says, I have a question that even Google cannot answer. Ask it quickly, because then I gotta go, because my wife's home and I gotta go spend time with her before she goes to bed. So if you ask it quickly, we'll answer it quickly, but otherwise I gotta get off.
Question that Google cannot answer.
I'm a little concerned.
High bar.
A high bar question for a low bar stream team. But let's see here. While I'm waiting for that to come in, let me check. Did I run out of fuel? Is that why this didn't fully smell? Yeah. Where's my coal? Sure, I'll just take all this and throw a little bit of that back in there. Alright, it has not come in yet, but that's alright. If it comes in, we'll try to answer it next time, because I gotta end this here, because I gotta go to sleep. Because I got work and youth group in the morning.
Too.
No worries, you're good, Jared. I'll see I'll talk to you sometime this week, I'm sure. But have a great night. And then if James gets his question, we'll answer it, and if not, then we'll be done. Where are you guys at right now?
I'm still underground. I'm working on building a water belt.
I'm trying to rebuild some of my XP after I died to that stupid fall damage.
Yeah, I'm still also trying to rebuild XP, but I decided to just make a mob farmer in the overworld. So I'm slowly water elevating my way back up to the surface.
So his question, and I think it's, I don't know where this question would be coming from, but it says one of his buddies didn't fast on Ash Wednesday, and the Bible clearly states fast on Ash Wednesday or you die a horrible death as you go into hell. I didn't fast on Ash Wednesday. I don't know where that's at in the Bible. I don't think that's in the Bible.
I have never heard that.
I've never heard that unless it's a part of the Apocrypha or something. And that's the only question that I have. If you're, maybe if you're coming from a Catholic background, that might be where it's coming from. But I don't agree.
I disagree too. I think maybe it could be a different application of some of the ceremonial laws where fasting was commanded in the Old Testament. But
that's possible. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, the whole significance. I didn't even know that Catholics were supposed to fast on Ash Wednesday.
I didn't either.
It's more of a.
But that's my only guess for it.
Thing.
Yeah. So if that's where it's coming from, then our answer is no. But also the thing is, you know, Jesus saved us, and once you're saved, you're saved. And obviously we're called to try to follow his commands. And so if it's a question of, you know, if someone sins once, are they going to hell even if they're saved? The answer is no. What matters is where you're putting your faith.
Say those ceremonies like fasting can be very helpful to individual people. I know a lot of people put a lot of value in fasting and gain a lot of benefit from it.
Yeah.
I would hesitate to put it at the level of command, and I could be wrong. I do not know anywhere in the Bible that says that if you do not fast on Ash Wednesday, which was not an observed holiday in the New Testament even, that you will die a horrible death. So
I think biblical canonicity could be an important thing to talk about, especially since I'm sure we'll get some people who are maybe more from a liturgical background.
Well, don't say liturgical. Catholic, like other Protestant traditions, are also liturgical.
That's fair.
Almost anything's more liturgical than our
that's valid.
education background.
Yeah. I love liturgies.
Liturgies have a place. I read an interesting argument recently, actually, in favor of liturgy, but that's its own separate conversation too.
Yeah.
Well, to our viewers, we are very, very out of time.
I gotta end because my wife's just got home from work late, so I'm gonna go spend some time with her before she goes to bed. But thank you all for joining so much.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, feel free to comment them once this VOD goes up as like a video as well, and I'll be sure to write them down, and we'll get to them as we get to them. But with that, thank you all for joining.